Alright, make sure this is working okay. It should be. Alright, testing something new with the volume. Hopefully this will be a little bit more feasible. I have it so that instead of being basically muted on the YouTube side, I just have the volume on the what's it called? OBS turned way down. I don't know if it'll work, but I hope it does. If you're watching this after the fact, you know, I'm going to show for comments and say let me know. But that's okay. Alright. Let's do some random cleanup. I can't sleep, so I used to just do this before I streamed as well, like just nap anytime I couldn't sleep, or I just felt anxious, or felt like I needed to do something I was good at, or for practice, or for fun. Only difference is now I'm streaming it, so if it seems like I stream a lot or frequently, that's basically why. I'm literally just streaming it instead of not. Because the amount of mapping I'm doing has not actually changed. It's gone down, if anything, because I'm not always in the mood to stream, but... Well, no, that's not it. I've actually kind of grown to enjoy it, but... more than I thought I would. But I digress. There's something very calming about doing it while listening to audio dramas and other things. Oof. I'm just doing some cleanup today, I believe. This way the mushrooms don't dip weirdly as they do when like this one here. I don't want that. Actually, can you guys see my mouse? Yes, you can. Okay, good. That's good. I was afraid I'd disabled that. I don't know if anyone will actually stop by the stream tonight, but that's okay. If not, I didn't expect it being, well, so late at night, but I just enjoy doing this. I'm probably talking pretty quiet too, but it is the middle of the night here, so. Alright. Let's go. Current music, if anyone was curious, is Nagrand from the Burning Crusade of WoW, which is very beautiful, I think, both as a zone and as, well, music, at least to me. And as a fun fact, it was a big part of, although it's not based on any single thing, the Magic Pink Gas Giant map was very heavily inspired by zones like Nagrand. Technically Hellfire Peninsula, Argus, Makari as well, but I think Nagrand is the one I identify with most because I just like its look and music. It's one of the first zones of TBC that I did every quest in after Zangar Marsh. Actually, you know, I think I cleared every zone in TBC on my first character, except Blade's Edge Mountains. Didn't like it. Wasn't a fan. And I am apparently not alone in that sentiment. When people talk about, who really like TBC, talk about how great it was, they're always like, well, there's Blade's Edge Mountains too. It's always the one they're like, well, it's, you know, you can't win them all. But regardless. know what, just in case, I'm going to turn my own volume up. Microphone input. Oh, I am at max. Oh, that's right. Oh well. Hopefully I am not too quiet even with this cursed... I forgot what brand I'm using. Corsair headset. Corsair headphones. They're great in every way except picking up your voice. It's the one thing you need them to do. Alright. There we go. There's another one. Let's get this one too. I'm thinking maybe I should switch back to the swamp water over the sand, but we'll see. Alright. That taken care of. Let's turn this off. Go back to objects. Pick up a mushroom, save, because you always want to save. And let's go to the next mushroom type. I believe it was... We were working with 0 and 0, and the 0, 1 are, yeah, these are the tall ones, so we want these. Let's just start putting them down. And these are the ones we're going to put down the most liberally, so it actually might make sense. I was going to say to hide the others, but gosh, that would be... possibly result in some overlap, but maybe I'll just put these where I think they look good. Just kind of go crazy with these. I'm gonna put here, there, everywhere. Because these little ones are going to be the backbone of making this look, well, making the 4 mushrooms prominent, because these are not only the small ones, but they're the ones without any big ones, like you can see here. These don't have that, so they're the ones that are going to clip the least, so they're the ones I want to see the most of. Which does mean quite a bit of work, actually. But that's okay. Let's go ahead and put these here, here. Let me make sure I didn't mute myself. Gosh, that would be awful. No, I did not. Good. Hopefully none of you are having trouble sleeping like I am, but there's a few ways to deal with that, I suppose. I'm using soft music, both because I usually do, but also because, well, I don't know. Told I have a pretty calming voice, so we'll roll with that and pretend this is like a channel to help put you to sleep. Just the peak highlight of streaming as it is. I'm gonna put one here. This is a pretty open space, so I'm gonna try to put a lot here. And it's always good to like try to, oops, without clipping, get them mixed up with the next ones. There we go. There's two right next to each other, but that's okay. Pretty. Let's get this corner here. Now, I might end up changing the sands to swamp water after all, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And that's thankfully something I can do at the last, well, as the very last step, without making anything look bad. It's the map making ASMR. Yes, this is my my peak. I did have someone suggest to me that that's what I should do. I think they were kind of joking, but they also seemed to like kind of serious. I don't know. Hopefully you're not staying up too late. Spindle. Ugh. Double posting is annoying. I don't think you've been here for this, but basically when I use this random tool here... No, I'm British. Oh, that's good. British! I shouldn't speak loudly, sorry. When I use this random tool, it places objects just with a click at a random angle, which is useful, but sometimes it double posts the items, which would be like fine, except that what it's doing is it's actually taking the item from somewhere else and putting it here instead. I have no idea why. So I always just hit Control Z when that happens if I catch it, which is very easy with the mushrooms, but it was actually kind of hard with these caps. See, there it happened. Can I fit one in here? Let me click and drag this in. There we go. Let's go back to the spray, random spray tool. So Spindle, as I ask all viewers that I actually remember to ask, what is your favorite planet in any fictional franchise? And why? Some people have an instant easy answer and some people agonize over the question. But there isn't a wrong answer. Unless it's Mandalore from the Clone Wars, then that's a wrong answer. If it's Mandalore from anything not the Clone Wars, it's okay. Harry Harrison's... oops, let me move this window over so I can read that. Edge. Death World series. I am not familiar. What kind of world is it? Is it based on, like, the etymology? I'm guessing it's a fire world? It's the first surfer or planet I ran into, so that's imprinted on me. How do you mean by ran into? Katachan from 40K. I'm afraid I'm unfamiliar with that as well. But more importantly, to you, why is it, what do you like about it? I suppose that's the real question. Oh, come on, autosave. You read the Death World series as a kid. Autosave is getting longer and longer. And it's gonna get longer and longer with all these mushrooms. Still undecided if I want to use these plants. But in your own words, what makes it special? Come on. I guess that'll do. There's a very specific look I'm going for with these, and I see it best when I zoom out and blur my eyes. I like it because it's, let me save while I'm reading this. I like it because it's one of those deadly but beautiful planets. Everything there is a little psychic, interesting, and spent the past few thousand years hyper-evolving to fight a war with human colonists. But if you don't have any ill will towards them, they don't care. So it's almost more the history of the planet than the look, perhaps? Double post. Yeah. Interesting. It is interesting. It is, well, I fully expected it, but it's still interesting that some people will respond with a question based on the history of a planet, and others will respond based purely on visual stuff. But again, there is no wrong answer. I wonder if Rayon is lurking in the rafters here. What does it look like, though? You called it beautiful, but I admit I don't really have a picture of it in my mind. Oh, that's good. I'll go with that. Next song. Let's save while we're doing that. Occurred to me you could just send me a picture of it, but it would probably be more interesting if you described it. I don't know. I found that, like, for me at least, I get way more interested in planets that I don't see. Well, not always, but a lot of times the planets I don't see but are described are just way more interesting to me than the ones that images exist for. Like, I was originally going to do the Christophs. Okay. Oh, well, let me save. Ooh. Oh, deeply verdant jungle, flowers blooming and swaying on moving vines, and jeweled bird-analogous humming through the air and grass which grows and dies visibly. So everything grows and dies very quickly. That's interesting. Where's my mouse? Okay, there it is. I can appreciate that. Have you ever read the Never-Ending Story? It's quite different from the movie. Well, to spare you a lot of the plot, at one point, there is a land that is both a jungle and a desert. Not like this. Not like this map, but I guess kind of like it. And what happens is during the day, he's not a sphinx, he's more like a fire lion, but he's rather jovial. He's not hostile or anything, at least not to the main character. During the day, he is so burning hot that, well, actually, the main character is the only person that's immune to him. But basically, he's so burning hot that everything around him just gets scorched to ash and dies. But the desert he creates is all around him, and every dune is a different color. So it's like a rainbow desert. But during the night, he turns to stone. And at night, a jungle grows uncontrollably fast all around over the desert. And then he wakes up during the day and he basically burns the whole jungle down to ash into the desert again. And that cycle repeats every day, night and day. And despite how evil he might sound, he's actually a very friendly lion, fire lion, magical creature thing. He's just kind of lonely because nobody can approach him without being burnt. Except the main character, but the reason for that is a long story. Yeah. I really liked the Neverending Story as a kid. Probably informed a lot of my, I wouldn't say personality, but it definitely informed a lot of my fantasy leanings and how I approach fiction, I guess. Let me save. Yeah, magical beasts with destructive auras, which are people inside those auras, are just a wonderful conceit. Yeah. I'm not sure he was meant to be tragic, but it's been decades since I read that book. I should reread it, honestly. Maybe after I finish the Star Wars book I'm reading. I bet I could get a good audiobook of it now, actually. Although an audiobook would... Oh, an audiobook could be done really well because the Neverending Story, I won't explain why, but it has an interesting quirk where the book is written in green text and red text. Let me look it up on my phone. It's a Clone Wars novel. Okay, Star Wars Yoda Dark Rendezvous by Sean Stewart. And I'm reading it because I'm hoping to go to the Legends Con, and Sean Stewart was one of the first authors to sign up there, and I was like, well, I should at least read one of these authors' books. So I just kind of picked his at random. Although now they have like, shoot, who was the really important one that was there? There's a couple more important people there now. That's kind of cool. But Legends Con is in September, and I'm really hoping to go. Since the tickets are moderately cheap, but, and I don't live too far away anymore now. It would probably just be like a half-day drive, assuming I don't get a plane. Let's see, what should I put on next? I actually have no idea what this sounds like. I can't remember, so I'll put it on. It's, you have no idea. Everything's just so far away. Look, that's close by American standards, okay? Oh, it can be awful. The highways are good at least, but oof. It's a 2-hour drive to the airport from where I am, for a reference. The major one. There's also a local one, but it's got a very specific weird niche that isn't relevant, and I would basically never use. And I don't think it even connects to the real airport. It might. I don't know. I never tried. It is. I want to wear something that'll like identify me as being related to. We need to shrink it down. Something that'll identify me if I go to Legends Con as working on Empire at War or being related to it. At first I was thinking a shirt with a Zon Consortium symbol because, I mean, that's about as blatant as it gets, right? But then I thought, what if I cosplayed as Tiber Zon? Because that's got to be easy, right? You just have to scowl, put on a fake scar, get a white wig, and a bomber jacket where you roll up the sleeves. Okay, I'm not feeling this. What do we got? What is it called? Here we go. My favorite planet in sci-fi has to be Lethe from Aliens Dark Descent because I love how bleak and dark it is and how the colonies there fell to ruin. I'm not familiar with that. There's a lot I'm not familiar with, admittedly. Is it Alien XCOM? I'm so unfamiliar with so many RTS games and other games that everyone else in EAW's sphere seems to know. Not turn-based, but they share elements. I'm afraid I'm guilty of being one of those people that only played Empire at War as an RTS. Except Warcraft 3. I did play that. I saw the Persistence Squad in top-down view. Just went, XCOM. When you say bleak and dark, can you be more specific though? Because that could mean a number of different things. Surface is made of black. Let me see. Let me place a couple more, then save. Then I'll read it. Ah! Ooh. Alright, saving. The surface is made of black rocks and dirt with little to no plant life, and there's a storm overhead blocking out the sun. Black rocks and dirt. Interesting. Well, what color is it? Like, aside from the black rocks, like the sky must be a color, right? And usually even black rocks have a tone to them, if that makes sense. Dark gray. Oh, so it's all grayscale? Like almost grayscale. Does it look like it's cold? Or like it's hot? Or just dead? And lifeless? Sounds a bit like Vitiate's homeworld. Almost. Not sure if you're familiar with the Old Republic lore. Or the Revan novel. Yes, it's just how deeply to carry look you get in a lot of alien media. It's really good look. Have you ever read the Revan novel? As ridiculous as it is, there's a Sith Lord in that book called Scourge, and he's actually the most compelling character in my opinion. It's frustrating. It's a frustrating book. I will warn you about that. It does not handle Revan very well, and it handles Mitra Surik even worse. But it does introduce a Sith pureblood named Scourge, and Scourge goes to Vitiate, the Emperor's homeworld, which has been a closely guarded secret, but he finds like a way to get to it anyway, to find out like what the Emperor is really like. Because someone told him like, if you want to learn about the Emperor, go there. So he sneakily goes there, and he discovers a world that is just completely gray. Like, the air has no life, there are no bugs, there's nothing there. No form of life. It's like, but it's also not like decayed either. It's like the buildings are upright and they would be functioning if they had any electricity. But there's also no bacteria, nothing to like actually decompose stuff. So everything just stands as it was on the day that he sucked all life from the planet. And the force there feels dead too. And it terrifies him so much that he begins planning his betrayal of the Emperor at that point. Which is why in Tor he's a Jedi companion. Like, as in like the light side Jedi get a Sith pureblood, straight up Sith, as their companion, because Scourge, despite being a complete Sith through and through, is so terrified of the Emperor's anti-force, not anti-force, but like ability to just destroy the force and destroy life, that he views the Emperor as a threat to both the light and the dark, and he sides with the light as a means of killing the Emperor. And he's actually, despite the fact that the Revan book is notorious for being frustrating in how it handles Revan and Mitra, Scourge, despite his ridiculous name, is unironically a really compelling character. Because he's straight up a Sith Lord, like, and a Sith pureblood Sith Lord. Like, there's nothing nice about him. But he also, like, kind of recognizes that serving the Emperor blindly is a bad idea after a time, once he realizes what the Emperor is. And he's kind of willing to do anything to kill the Emperor, even though he actually serves the Emperor and pretends to become his favored general or whatever for like 300 years. Or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, meaning where there's a bad guy who works with the good guys, but doesn't stop being the bad guys, does rule. To be honest, it does. It is a fun trope. Although, I think to be fair, I think Scourge was at least opening up to the light side because Revan, I'm with you but not one of you, it's fun. Revan did introduce him to the idea and showed him ways in which the Sith could be wrong. So, I actually don't know if he can be turned to the light side. But if he can, it wouldn't surprise me too much because, what was I saying? Because, I mean, he's at least been introduced to concepts and shown how the Sith are flawed and mistaken about a lot of things. And, he does develop a rather intense, interest in Revan, knowing that Revan has been both a Jedi and a Sith. But also, like, people had met very few Jedi at that time period, which would make a Jedi captured interesting, but that Revan had also been a Sith makes him even more interesting to, well, nobody except, well, some people are, like, kind of interested, but then they lose interest. But, Scourge would visit Revan basically almost every day for years and years because he was just like, I have to know more. He doesn't totally buy into the light side stuff, but he is obviously curious. I haven't actually played his campaign. I just read the Revan novel, but I am very interested to do the Jedi Knight campaign and recruit him, because people tell him he's actually very interesting in game as well. Although currently I'm playing Sith Warrior, so I'm not making much progress on that front. Yes, Star Wars, The Old Republic. How is the volume even with me talking softly, by the way? Mind you, I don't actually know what happens in SWTOR. It keeps you audible. Oof. Well, I am talking sort of quietly, so that's probably part of it. But also I'm using Corsair headphones, which are great in every regard except they make your voice super quiet. It's very obnoxious. And I've not really found a way to fix that. It's a little infuriating. I might look into getting a real mic, but we'll see. Alright. How does it compare to the volume of the music, though? I should put some of these bones in. You're audible over the music. That's good. When I'm talking louder during the day, I'll be even louder then. That's perfect to know. Okay. I'm going to save there. And I think I'm going to switch to the other mushroom. Actually, you know what? I could switch to the other mushroom type, or I could go to bed. I'm not sure which is better to do right now. Here's the other mushrooms, the big ones. I want to use them a bit less than I did these. So I'm probably going to go a bit sparse. You know what? You keep imagining them as lilies. I do kind of like that as an idea, to be honest, because I might end up going with this instead. Where you just walk on a swampy lake. Right? I haven't quite decided which one I'll stick with yet. Wait, these are the new ones, so 1.5. Let's sink them into the sand properly rather than hovering. Autosave. Swamp World. I'm going to do that step last, though, and put everything else down and then decide. That said, Marsh Desert is an aesthetic which hasn't showed up in EW yet. Not really, no. Which is funny, because it's not the hardest thing to do, I don't think. But I try to keep myself a little more sparing with these ones, because they are bigger and will clip more. Hold on a second. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and fix these texture issues quick. Alright. Where's those big ones? Or I can just find a new one. There we go. If I can make a swamp marsh or a marshy desert, that would be pretty cool, but this might end up leading into marsh instead, but we'll see. It's something I can do last after I've settled everything else. Yeah. At this point, I mostly want to fill in spots that look a little empty. I don't want to overdo it. Not too much anyway. And right in the middle there. And right here, here. One down here. Did I respond to that? I can't remember. But yeah, that's exactly right. Because adjusting the water at the end will be very easy, so no pressure for me there. All right. There we go. There we go. Let's put one here as well. And one here. 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 Ooh. Spindle, if you don't mind me asking, what is that flag in the background of your thing? I actually don't recognize it. Well, I kind of recognize it, but I don't know what it means. Just curious. Oh, okay. That's fair. I might be non-binary, but I don't really worry about it. Well, worry about it's the wrong term. I grew up getting called ma'am too much. Possibly for my voice. To really put much stock into pronouns one way or another, because I was constantly being called miss, ma'am, her. Not constantly, but it happened often enough when it shouldn't have happened that I definitely became desensitized to it. If that sounds wrong. That definitely sounds like the wrong way to phrase it. But so I just kind of stopped worrying about that stuff. No. Yeah. I used to think, well, I started thinking that maybe I was overthinking the whole thing. But then I had a friend tell me that if I'm having thoughts in the first place, it's probably not normal. Not normal is the worst phrasing. I don't know. I also feel like I'm too old for that. That's kind of a ridiculous excuse, but maybe too set in my ways to fuss over identity at this point. My identity, anyway. Well, that just makes it even more complicated. Anyway. I used to get really anxious when people ask me my pronouns because I was like, I don't care and I don't want to care. Stop asking. After a while, I was just like, well, I guess I can just tell them I don't care. And they'll be like, okay. To me, I feel a little pretentious calling myself any label, though. But that's also because, like, I've gone so long without anything, any labels that, well, you know what I mean. That, like, applying one to myself now feels, well, it feels pretentious. Kind of a, well, why now feeling, I suppose. I don't know, I'm having late night overthinking thoughts. You remember to, I should just fix this and apply it manually. Yeah, it do be like that. That's a good way of putting it. CIS by default. It also kind of raises the question of, well, what would change for me? And I tend to be very pragmatic when I'm not being a fussy artist anyway. So I was like, well, not really much of anything. So I was like, oh, alright, whatever. Let's try this track, see how I feel about it. I can put on something else if I don't like this. Anyway. I am clearly getting a case of the late night rambling. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. Oh, come on. Stupid mushrooms. There we go. Saying CIS is label what fits me best is a valid result, to be honest. Yeah, I suppose. Double posting. I have no idea if I've placed enough of these mushrooms. Lost track. Oh no. Oh well. Wait a minute. Got an idea. No, that's not high enough for me to tell. Actually, wait, let me just look for the upside down mushrooms now. Ugh, this is too hard to tell. Okay. Huh. More concentrated than I thought. Shroom sense this time. Alright, so I didn't do anything in this hall, in this passage here. I want some of these. Okay, so all the infantry only passes. A couple up here. And maybe one around here. The rest of the map seems okay. Alright. Just need to find one now. Alright. So the infantry only passes areas. There's one. There's another. Alright. Where else? How do you decide to break up the battlefield, by the way? Can you explain what you mean specifically? Or can you be a little more specific? Wait, I put one there. And there. Is that it? No, I wanted one over here. There we go. Let's try more over here, maybe? All of these. Save. How do you decide where to make paths for infantry, armor, and where to make spaces? Why spaces? Experience, practice, trial and error, input from others. At this point, it's more experience than anything, and my own instincts. I think I've always been pretty decent at game design, like understanding. Having a relative concept of thinking for it, but I'll think if I can go through this step by step. Ooh, let me turn off that. There we go. Now, so we got the base here, and we got it opposite the first landing zone. That's pretty standard. So they have to attack this way. Now, there's a number of ways to approach this, but one thing I like to do to start with is I like to present one normal path out and then always present an alternate path, whether that's hover or infantry only. I like to make one or both of those available as an alternate way out of the base. And that would lead to something rewarding, usually a landing zone, or in this case a sensor or something else. This needs to be something that's a little bit riskier to take, but important enough to try for. Then, since we no longer do the 5-5 system, which I always hated, there is a relatively easy landing zone around here. So this is the default path, the safe path, and this leads to a 2-pop landing zone, which puts you at 7. So a cautious attacker can easily take this and have 7 out of 10, and that's enough to hold off a defensive force usually, if it's used well. So a cautious attacker has 2 landing zones to hold. This one is a little bit more the front line, and this one is a little more protected because they just need something anti-infantry to protect themselves here, or to deal with very small anti-vehicle stuff. Like an anti-infantry turret or infantry that are specializing in attacking infantry, or ATPTs are perfect for here to guard this pass. It's a bit loud. Then we have another landing zone here, and this can bring them up to 10, but obviously being so close to the base, this makes it a bit more high risk. The base structures are everything, all the main structures need to be under the dome. That's pretty much what I always do now. I think I've got only like 1 or 2 maps where it's not the case, and they're very old. The shield generator should not be under the dome. That's a rule we have now. Autosave is killing me. And it is right here. So this is pretty close to the base. It's pretty easy to defend, but it is not under the dome itself. The outbases are here, and they are not super, and they are pretty well defended because they can only attack from this direction, which again is behind turbo lasers. So I always want a turbo laser near the generator and one near the outbases, and then one on the other approaches. Was there a 4th turbo laser? Is it just the 3? There's just 3, but I think I may want to put one here. Turbo lasers should not go under the dome because that makes them overpowered. These are pretty well defended, except they are exposed to infantry, and I think that's okay, because this is not my best layout, but it's a pretty good one. It's an okay one, actually. It's above average, at least. So that's the philosophy for this one. Let me do some passability stuff here, and I'll show you another one that I consider not the peak, but like really good. And I can show you the thought that went into that one. Actually, have you seen the Quell video? Because that one kind of does discuss why Quell. Well, I'm glad. Have you seen my Quell video? Because that does kind of explain the mentality behind Quell. And yeah. So like the whole safe versus easy paths both exist, and it's important to balance around both, like more to do. Balance around situations where, excuse me, I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry. That's what I get for doing this late at night. One more. It is, yeah, it's basically... Alright, I'm going to save that and load a different one. It really is risk versus reward. Generally, you want open paths to the base, and you don't... The things to avoid are... It's my own fault. Let me see if I can find a pretty good map. This is not the best one, but it's a pretty decent one. Oh, I'm opening this in the base game editor. Give me a second here. One second. Let me see here. Okay. Alright, I think I'm back. This one. There's our friend. This is actually the exact guy from... Wait, here. Let me see if I can recreate it. Yeah, there it is. It's the exact guy from the image here. Okay. See if I... There we go. Alright. Ooh, that is quite something. Alright, so this one, it's visually very easy to see the paths you can go, which is kind of nice. There's the first landing zone, a safe landing zone. I'm going to call him Bob. It's a scenic spot for a photo. This is the first landing zone. Here is a safe landing zone worth 3. Here is a riskier landing zone worth 3. And here's another risky one worth 3, I think. Now here's the base. It's not very big, but it is relatively secured because there are 2 paths here, but the shield dome is going to cover like this and leave them relatively defended. I believe it's shaped like this or something. So they've got basically just this wall to defend. Praise Bob. Amen. The outbase, this is not the best design, but the outbase and shield domes are all over here. It's maybe not the best system, but it's okay. This is a water passability through here. That was kind of just last minute addition. It's not super well thought out. Now, this is protected by a turbo laser though, which is pretty good. But the a hasty attacker with medium tanks that hover can rush through here and basically take out this stuff, even with the 2 turbo lasers, I guess. Oof, I didn't know I made that well defended. Are there 5 turbo lasers on this map? Damn, I might have made this a little too defensive heavy. Oh well. This is not a perfect map by any means. I actually made this one rather quickly. But they can go through here and basically take out the shield generator and then basically shut down the defenses here. So the defender is forced to defend both here and here. 2 fronts. I am by no means very good at this game, but I can kind of figure out what people who are good at the game want, especially because Corey and others have told me multiple times. And I have people who are good at the game test it quite a bit. Sometimes though, things are weird, like Bogley Woods. Bogley Woods, I basically drew the layout in one go. I did basically boom, 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 boom. And then I added landing zone, landing zone, landing zone, landing zone. And I was like, yeah, okay. That's a lazy first attempt, but let's see how people like it. And people were like, no, this is perfect. And I was like, it's not perfect. I did it in the first try. I'm like, no, it's fine. So, I mean, sometimes I'm obviously getting better at it if I can just bullshit something on the first try and make it work. I can't complain. But this one has basically the clear path all the way around here, clear path all the way around here. And usually having two paths that are really far apart is a terrible idea. And you see this in some of our more problematic maps where there's just really long paths all the way around to the base. But what makes this different is the infantry only paths here and here and here. So with the I actually added this landing zone last minute because I was like, this feels like it needs to be here. So this is like the highest risk landing zone. Like, it's straight up got a turbo laser on it, which is usually a bad idea, but I'm going to say I don't care and keep it anyway. It's got 2 turbo lasers on it. Because if you can take this landing zone, you're basically in the base. You're right on top of it. But you need really strong infantry and the defense to not be able to handle those infantry to be able to claim it. But I think that's important because it's important to offer an avenue in which the attacker can quickly wipe out the base if the base is not strong enough. Because it's sort of like the ground version of dropping a Super Star Destroyer on a Golden 1, if that makes sense. If there's like a Golden 1 by itself and you drop a Super Star Destroyer on it, it's not going to last. And this is sort of the ground version of that, of accelerating very simple, easy battle. This is something I added last minute, but I'm glad I did. Let's see. Quell, I'm told, is a very good map. Yeah. So Quell starts here. You go across this river water. You grab the easy landing. You grab the risky landing zone, and then you got a straight shot straight into the base to kill everything. Easy peasy. But if like the defense is pretty intense, you can move back here. If you're feeling frisky, you can go through here. You could potentially grab this, but it might be a little hard. But if the defense is like really heavy, you can grab this basically for free. And this is a 3-pop. Basically hold up right here. This is a random structure, so sometimes you'll get like a sensor node. Maybe you'll get a turbo laser that'll like kind of shoot this way. It's defense. It's something. Maybe a repair structure, which would be good because you can keep your tanks here, then like cycle them out to get repaired and come back. Although really using the repair station is probably better, but anyway. And if you set up artillery back here, you could safely like lob at the enemy from a safe distance. Oh yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but these guys are on a few maps and they just fly around. They're very cute. And in a few of my experiences with like more intense defense is like I'd hold up here and then I'd run a Jedi through and grab this landing zone, grab this capturable, and then run back and then stay hold up again and put down 2 more unit pops and then let them grab that landing zone again because I don't care about it at this point. I got my 10. I tend to play very defensively. The generator is back here through an infantry only pass. This is basically free defense for units for the defender, but it is sort of counter-intentionally there as like a balance to the fact that An aggressive attacker can take mercenaries, this, whatever this ends up being, and this if they're, and potentially this as well. So let's see, what else is there? This is a potentially not super well done map, but one that I think is okay anyway, because it's very, very big, and you'll see it a lot because we need more super big, massive, well done urban maps. So you start this landing zone. This one is basically free. This is an infantry only pass, and then there's 4 landing zones here, each worth 3 or 2, I forget. And it's probably just my playstyle because I find it varies from person to person, which is why it's important to, are you moving from second landing zone to win now? I'm moving from, yes, I don't know if you've played Fall of the Republic, but landing zones are not all worth 5 now. Some are worth 2, 3, etc. So it's more like you get to 8 pop kind of quickly, 8 to 7 pop rather quickly, sometimes 6. It depends on the map. It's a slow adjustment to fix them. And spaceship parking at top of, oh, there's so many landing zones on this map because it's based on Bonadan, which is like an airport planet, and manufacturing planet in Han Solo's Revenge. So there's like a ton of stuff here. This map took forever. So I'm not sure how good this map is because a lot of the fighting does occur here and here, or it tends to occur here. Oh, you have no idea. Urban maps that are well done take forever. And having it in just one avenue isn't great, but I do think having the hover area here and here does sort of help. It is a big map anyway. It's meant to be for 7 slot worlds, so well, it's made with Bonadan in mind, so a better, well, at least in my opinion, better urban map is Axela. Because what happened with this one is I drew up the layout and then basically had people keep testing it until they didn't have any more feedback. And then I decorated it. Oh yeah, hang on. One second. Oh, let me put more music on quick. So, where do you start in this one? Oh, right. So the idea behind this one was I wanted basically switchbacks. I wanted switchbacks where the clear path was going back and forth, but then infantry only and hover paths existed. So that the attacker was sort of, it came from the idea of originally possibly being, yes, it is, Axela is the inverse Coruscant. It kind of originally came from the concept of being Commonor, but then it ended up not being Commonor at all. Where Commonor was like a guerrilla warfare, a planet with a lot of guerrilla warfare history. So it was going to be like these switchbacks of clear path with infantry only and hover paths connecting them. Which basically meant that any AT-AT like attacker would be in hell. But I ended up going with this instead, which is just basically an L into the base. But then all these paths here leading to everything important everywhere else, but you can't get here with clear. You need to use infantry and hover units to utilize this space properly. The dark green represents infantry only, The blue is hover units, like water. The white is basically impassable, which is just another kind of flying unit only thing. Whew. I don't know if you... Oh my gosh, what did I do? Oh, I hit G. I have a video of this, of a battle between the Republic and the CIS on this map. I'm rather happy with it. Oh, let me turn on. There we go. Have you seen my video of Axela? It's pretty good. I spent a long time on it, syncing everything up. I chose rock music because Axela is introduced with a rock concert. This is another one that took forever. I'm pretty happy with it. Oh yeah! It's on this channel as well. I never got to introduce it, so it just kind of came out of nowhere, and I'm sure it confused a lot of people. Because I never got to explain it. Like, going in, I was like, oh, should I explain it, Corey? But then, like, at that point, he'd already hit play. I was like, uh-oh. This map was basically practice for Coruscant, because I am going to do the Coruscant map someday. But I want it to be, like, the same scale. By the way, this is probably the biggest map that exists, because while it's only 16 by 16 out of the 20 by 20, oh wait, hang on. Let me break this quick. This is what it looks like on the outside. And, okay, so this is a 16 by 16 square area. Actually, no, this is. Roughly this is. I'm an AMV fan already, and I just... Alright. So this is like a 16 by 16 area. The average map is probably like 9 by 9. So probably like this big. So I'll give you an idea of how big the scale of this map actually is. This is me zooming in quickly. Yeah. I did make one for Balmora recently. It's not as good, but I think it's alright. I tried to do more story stuff, because the Republic one didn't have a story, quote-unquote, or the Axel one didn't have a story, quote-unquote, but I like to think of it as the Republic invading Axela to bring it back into the fold from the CIS. I've been thinking of doing more of those videos, but they take a lot of time. I want to do like more story ones with like obscure lore, like the Warlords of Balmora thing. I think that'd be fun. There are 4,352 objects on this. Oh, this is something I'm proud of with texturing, is basically blending two types together. Here, let me see. Where you get a mix of like one texture on top and then something rougher mixed in with it. And it creates this sort of natural scuffing look. I do it with basically everything. I think I did it here. Yeah. Pretty sure I did it here. Yeah, I did. I did not do it on the highway. I was a little lazy there. I always felt like I'll have to go back and do that. Let me see another one I like. Do not save anything here. This is another one I'm kind of proud of, but so, well, texture-wise, I'm proud of it, because if you look closely, well, there's two textures blurred here. One is light green, and the other is dark green, and with the rain, it makes it look like there's just like damp stains and stuff. And I don't think people notice this, but it's there subconsciously, which is important, I think. I think I forgot to do it on these ones, though, so I'm a fraud. You've increased my workload. Oh no. I'm a fraud. Yeah, the Urifens. Civilians. And the Gonk droids. Oh, I forgot I added these. That's cute. Oh, that's wild. You can actually read that. Gonk. The casual depth. Alright. I should probably go to bed. This little number took me a while because I had to like make it so that like these like aren't neither too high above nor too low far below the thing, because otherwise hover units will clip through it, and they still kind of clip, but not as noticeably now. It's gonking time, and then he gonked all over the place. On every map, I try to include a Celestin, a Pingani, a Gonk, and a Duros. I think I named them Vinny and Carl. I haven't named the Pingani, though. I like to think they're on an adventure together. And they just wander around my maps somewhere or another. Let's see, where's another one I used them? They're tourists. Oh, this is the newest map I finished. I'll just put it up quickly before I go to bed. I am rather fond of it. It's basically a blank slate Rakata Ruins world. Wartime reporters. I can dig that, especially for a Celestin. That makes sense. I did record doing the bits and parts of this map. I really like this canyon and how it came out. The lava fountains are pretty cool, yeah. There's another steam vent. Oh, there's more blurring here. You can see there. Actually, there's blurring on all of this. And in some places I actually use two different textures. Like if you look very closely, wait, let me make this easier to see. Oh, that might be harder to see, weirdly. White. The other one is frick off. Also white. Let's make this white as well. Alright, so one of these is the brick bump texture. The other is just sort of like scuffing. So combined together, let's look at the other one I didn't mess up. And I did the same going this direction as well. So let's move that. Combined together, you get something like this, where you get stairs on bricks with, well, one is stairs and the other is bricks. I was rather happy with this one. I introduced some new tree types where basically these are just base game trees but turned orange. I was pleased with how they turned out. These little red things are some... Oh yeah, I do love the statues. These little red things are some kind of prop that was made for Umbara. I have no idea what role they play there, but I scattered a bunch of them about. They're cute. This is like the first time I've actually found a use for them. I have no idea what they're used for on Umbara, but they're here. Okay. I'm probably gonna go to bed. Thank you both for watching. Oh, I am rather proud of these as well. I have a video showing how I did them, if that interests you. It's probably something with the word textures and tiles. Anyway, good night. Yeah, no problem. I should probably try to go to sleep now. I don't feel any more tired than I did hour and a half ago. So, mission failed, but at least I got some mapping done. Good night, guys.